Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot, and in this video I want to talk about the vertical situation display, a feature that a lot of you are either not knowing entirely what to do with or don't know exist at all. So, we are currently approaching Salzburg Airport, and as you can see the airport is pretty much covered in mountains over there, so we do not see all that much. Luckily we have an ILS approach available to us today, so that reduces the risk of ending up in a wrong position already. But here is a tool that we used on every single approach in my previous airline in order to enhance our safety, and that is the vertical situation display. To call it up, you press the CTR knob on the EFIS control panel to go into the ROSE mode, and then you press it once again and it displays the vertical situation display to you. Now let's start with the features of the VSD. The first thing you see over there is that little green dot. And that dot actually shows you where the airplane is going to reach the target airspeed that you have bucked in over here. So as you can see right now, 250 is our target, and it tells us over here that we need like a mile or so in order to reach those 250. If the dot was all the way at the end of the flight path symbol over there, then it would tell you that you do not ever reach that speed. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's go to vertical speed, give me 3000 feet a minute, plus a little speed reduction. You can see there is not even a dot there anymore. Now going to vertical speed here is the next good feature of the VSD, because it shows you over here, that dashed magenta line, what your vertical speed target actually is. So if we change this around, for example, let's go 2000 or 1200, you can see like this, 1200, it brings us straight into the mountain down there and straight into the glide slope down there as well. So for the symbology, you have your final approach line shown over there in magenta, and then you have all your waypoints and the associated altitude constraints. Now looking at those, you can see over here we've got a 4000 above, here we've got a 4000 above, and this is a 4000 at restriction. Over here we've got the green dot showing us we will never reach the target speed. As you can see, the airplane is reducing speed somewhat at the vertical speed we're commanding, but we are not going to reach the speed target in time. So let's go to level change and continue the flight like that. You can see now on level change the airplane is almost leveling off to catch the speed back, and straight away we get the target coming back over here, giving us a good overview over our vertical situation. Now next up, we've got our selected altitude down here, as you can see, but the most important thing of the entire display is the terrain. And let's have a closer look into this right now. So you can see that on our map display, we basically don't see any terrain right now, because we are still at an altitude of 8000 feet. However, if you look down onto the vertical situation display, you can see that we've got our vertical terrain up here, and we are, as you can see, about to go, if we maintain the present rate of descent, straight into the foot of the mountain over here. But don't worry, the terrain you see in here is only the terrain that you see as part of the so-called swath on the nav display. The swath is the part between the two dashed blue lines that you can see on the nav display up here, and the swath is what really makes the definition of the lateral boundaries of your vertical situation display. The next important feature then is this does not take possible turns into account. So as you can see, if we continued on our present heading, then we would end up in the mountain down there. However, if we take into account the turn we're about to do over here, then we will just about make it to our runway. The vertical situation display comes in really handy when you're executing a terrain escape maneuver, as it does show you your vertical tendency towards the terrain, which is very, very useful in that situation. Now, let's, however, talk quickly about the probably most important feature of the entire display, and quickly go back to VNAV as well. So the most important feature is what you see down here, and that is the runway symbol. Now, the runway symbol of the VSD is so important because it shows you if your altimeter setting is done correctly. So it is a great tool for mitigation against high energy approaches. Now let me quickly talk about that and why that is. Obviously, your altimeter and your VNAV path are based upon the QNH that you've entered. So in our case over here, 1008 hectopascals. But think about what might happen if your QNH is set incorrectly. So for example, if we set 1018 instead of 1008. Now, what would happen, quite easy indeed, is that the altimeter would overreach. So if you set 1018 right now, then you would be indicating 270 feet higher than you actually are, and the result is that you would be flying a lower flight path. On your normal instruments, there is no way of determining that unless you're flying an ILS approach, which has external references like the glide slope and the localizer indication over there. Talking about which, let's quickly arm that approach mode so that we capture the ILS properly. Now, you've only got those references if you're flying an ILS. Don't let yourself be fooled by the IAN approach, which would indeed mark only or bring up the same sort of markers visually, but if you see final approach course and glide path rather than glide slope showing up there, then the data is coming right from your computers and not from an external reference. However, the vertical situation display is able to correct for that error, and let me show you how. So first of all, let's go ahead and set a proper range. So the VSD range is about the same as the lateral range. Now that does change with the max, but that is a topic for a future video. If the runway symbol on the VSD lies on the top of the terrain, you can see it perfectly right over here, then you are on path. That is because your airplane is actually able to determine the VSD based on your GPS rather than your barometric altitude. So let me show you what I mean with that. Let's select a completely incorrect QNH now. So this is set all the way up, 1035, so that is a huge difference. Now, as we're getting closer to the runway, you will see how the runway is no longer on the terrain beneath it. You can see us flying above the profile over there, but the runway itself is going to change as well. So let's select that down a little bit. On the real plane it is visible a little bit better than on the PMDG, I have to say. But once we're getting lower, you will see immediately what I mean. The other thing that is really handy is the dot for your speed deceleration, showing you if you're able to make your deceleration or not while you're established on the approach. But I'm going to go over that a little bit later. The other thing we have over here is the 1000-foot gate and the 500-foot gate that are shown on your vertical path, so you already have an idea. Depending where your speed dot is, you will know if you're able to make it and come in stabilized or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our approach. Approach VRF not selected. Well, let's quickly go ahead and do that. Okay, here we go, and flaps 30, please. Right, and the go-around altitude of 6000 should obviously be set as well. Okay, so we are now nearing our runway, and the runway symbol, as you can see, if you look at the start of the terrain over here, the runway symbol is not entirely located on the terrain. There is a little bit of difference there. In the real airplane, as I mentioned, that is even more obvious, but it goes to show you very, very nicely if your QNH is set correctly or not. Once again, you can... Now I've reset the correct QNH, you can see the runway lying perfectly flat on the terrain. If I selected a different QNH, it would be moving up and down. Alright, so that is the vertical situation display. A really useful tool. It is an airline option, so you need to have a look into your FMC to determine if you have it installed on your airplane or not. And that basically concludes this video. Alright, let's go manual. Let's land this airplane, and if the landing is a smooth one, then I'm looking forward to you leaving your like on the video.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, if that is not a smooth landing, then I don't know. Alright then, looking forward to your feedback on this video. Let me know if you liked it. I am most certainly looking forward to your feedback. And in the meantime, I would like to say thank you very much for watching today. Subscribe to the channel for more. And finally, if you really like what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. But in the meantime, thank you very much, and I see you all again on the next one.